Right, so let's just recap the situation with the Volvo. The van is kaput at the moment.
Yep.
Your van's not working, so you're driving this, right? So now you become an expert on this thing. Right, now apparently you've just had a problem with the tyres. It's just very interesting. So all the valves were leaking, and you had to have the valves...
So all of them are loose.
Yeah.
So they've just been tightened, and
Yeah.
the new pressure's gone back in.
Right.
So the fuel consumption should be better now.
They do look better.
And you can see the pressure in them now. Before they were quite low.
Yeah. Right, get in. I'll get in the other side. Why are the lights on?
I've got the ignition on.
Oh. That explains it. Right.
Ooh, got really muddy feet.
Well, I'll keep my feet just in the middle for a second. So the start it up a minute, just see if it starts. Right. So the two things we're now discovered or talking about are that the fuel consumption, according to you, seems heavy.
Yep. So just under half a tank, just over half a tank. Got me home back twice. Where that is more consumption than I'm using in my big van.
Well, it does use more than your big van. I don't know because it's a.
Previously, when I've used this,
Yeah.
I did not notice that.
No, I got to admit it.
I've taken it home a few times now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I hadn't jumped into me like, wow, I've used a quarter of a tank just going home and back.
Well, the consumption on this is, in my experience, has always been good. We've never kept an eye on it, but obviously, I mean, we used to do around 450 miles to a tank. And we never thought it was excessive, this car. Obviously, it's a big vehicle.
And now we're looking at about 320.
Yeah, so it's
the half
dropped.
tank down.
So we could say it's down by maybe 20%. And the other thing that you're talking about is, show us what you do. It's a power steering.
That's not too bad now. Now we're sitting there. That's quite nice. But if you're driving and then you come into low revs,
Yeah.
as if you're slowing down to pull into a parking space, then this has to have the extra pull round.
Right.
Not like this.
And if you find it difficult, that means it is difficult. I would find it impossible. So those are two symptoms, and I wonder if they're anything to do with the fact that this vehicle has...
Reverse back and pull in, you might be
Yeah.
able to see it. You see what on before it tells me off?
Oh, it'll tell me off. This used to be a lovely. These were garages over here at one point where I used to keep my cars. There were garages over here, and all this was all buildings and various other things. And the whole lot's been dismantled and destroyed because this whole area is being developed for into houses and dwellings, which is just being held up at the moment over some red tape on the planning application for anyway. But so that's why we are living in this desolate looking area here. Right. Okay.
Slow down. No, not good.
No, well, it always happens when you want to show somebody something. It's all right.
So I stopped on the way home when I dropped you off yesterday
Yeah.
and pulled into Lidl, so I thought I
Yeah.
might as well get my lunch then. Obviously, people
Yeah.
come at lunchtime. And to get into the parking space, then it was both hands to pull in.
Yeah.
That's the 50-50 thing, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there must be a reason for that, and there must be a reason.
It sounded, because before, when it was playing up, the idle wasn't quite right, and it was kind of like jumping up and down a little bit, and then the idle was
Wouldn't
kind
be
of
something
going,
stupid like the pump that pumps the pressure for the fuel is the same pump that works the power steering.
No, I think the fuel going through not right. Obviously alters the power given to the car, which then powers the steering pump further down the line.
Right,
The same
okay,
way.
yeah, I see your tape.
So if that's not idling properly, then this isn't getting the right power to be able to work properly. But at the moment, it does seem to be idling properly, which is why this should have been working.
Yeah. So you've had it a few times when it wasn't idling properly?
Yeah, that was before we reset it last time. Since then, it's been idling okay.
But you had power steering problem?
Previously, yes, and now as well.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So when you had the power steering yesterday problem...
It was idling okay.
So it's not to do with the idling now? That's what I'm getting at.
Where before I thought it was, which it
Yeah,
generally
yeah,
could
okay,
be.
so it's not to do with
When
that.
it was down, it was
Yeah.
hard, and when it was back to normal,
Yeah.
it was okay.
Yeah, so in other words, it's not anything to do with the engine or supply of fuel because the engine was running properly.
Yeah.
So it's got to be the pumps, as I'm saying, pressure pumps or something.
Unless it's struggling sending power to the right components in the car.
Yeah.
Thinking
But,
like,
yeah, what your connection... Yeah, I don't know what the connection was. All right. Well, there are two symptoms there anyway. Okay, we'll have a ongoing investigation. Well, it's a lovely morning. Beautiful sun, but cold. And today, I've got to take the 2CV for its MOT test. Now look at this. Look. Where the moles have been here. Amazing. Right, so let's see if it'll start on this cold morning. That's full choke and it started right away. And I guess the reason is because I had it out a couple of days ago. So it's on half choke at the moment. Okay. Right, so we're taking I'm laughing because we're taking the Citroen 2CV for its MOT. And about 10 minutes ago, I've just realised that the Volvo, its MOT runs out in a couple of days, so I've booked that in for tomorrow. So the Volvo is going to have to go for its test tomorrow as well. But Tom will probably take that in. Well, it's a lovely day to be driving around in this little 2CV. I always enjoy driving it, it's beautiful. Handles lovely. And as I've said many times, they're a much nicer and more fun vehicle to drive than people imagine. But of course, if you don't like older cars and older technology, obviously it wouldn't be of much pleasure. You have to drive it more, but it is actually quite easy to drive. I mean, in the town you're really flipping between second and third. I'm in third at the moment. Fourth is up and like dogleg. You don't, it's more of an overdrive really. I think in the town you tend to be just using second and third and then first just to pull away. Because it's such a light vehicle and it's very grippy, you know, it holds the road very well. The steering is excellent. Goes exactly where you want it to go. got the indicators, which you have to cancel yourself. So you must remember to be doing that. If you want a bit of acceleration out of it, you have to hold the gears a bit. So I'm at the top now. But you have to hold on to those gears a bit. And of course it's quite noisy. And people are not used to an older car of this type. You know, it's a bit unnerving maybe. But because a modern car, you don't really hear them. And they certainly don't seem to rev that much, you know. You're sort of kept away from the engine noise. Whereas this, you're kind of with it and living every minute of it, really. Which is part of the joy of it, I think. Because when I drive my little Amy, Citroen Amy, which is basically the same sort of car, but the steering wheel's on the other side, so I'm changing hands with the other, changing gear with the other hand, with my right hand. Gets a bit confusing maybe. So this garage here that I'm Anglian Vehicle Services, they're going to do the MOT today for this and the MOT tomorrow for the Volvo. Right, let's go in. Hello,
Hello.
sir. That's the Volvo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For tomorrow.
What's that for? Tomorrow.
MOT.
Oh, is it? I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Oh, sorry. I just booked that one in for tomorrow. Yeah, and you got one here for now.
We got one in there.
Yeah, you got one. You're doing one now. and I'm doing another one
I've
tomorrow.
only just come in.
Oh,
so,
sorry. Yeah.
So tomorrow, that's Friday tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah. You got that one. You got that one booked in for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, 12:30.
12:30.
that one, yeah.
And then you got
one in there,
2CV you're going to do now.
Oh yeah, 2CV.
Yeah, it's outside. The keys are in
Oh,
there.
I see.
I'm early. I'm sorry. I'm always early. I'll just wait.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's outside. The keys are in it. I'll just sit down and wait for you. gave, well, it should be after all the going over you gave.
It's got a little bit of playing one front kingpins.
On where?
Front kingpins, near side, but it hasn't been greased, so pump it full of grease, and that might take up that anyway.
Ah, right.
That
Yeah.
one's got, it's a cleaner one, isn't it?
Yeah. That needs doing then, doesn't it? Yeah.
Something. Exhaust rear,
Yeah.
I've not put on here, exhaust rear rubber mounting is split. Only a little strap on them, aren't they? A little strap. It's broken. They're still supported by the one in front, so I can't fail anyway.
Is that just a generic one? Can you just...
No, you need to get one for that. Because they're a specific little strap.
Right,
Rubber
okay,
strap.
so I better get that.
Yeah. Get kingpin greased up. It hasn't had any of the
Can I book it in? Could you guys do a save of service and sort that out with it? On it?
I used to build them.
Eh?
I used to build them.
Do what?
I used to build them.
Oh, you used to build them?
Yeah.
Well then...
I worked for Citroen for 18 years.
Well, then can all the things that need doing on it, can I book it in so that they get done? Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll get some.
Yeah. So that one, and then if you could book it in next week, if it's possible, do whatever needs doing on it.
Yeah.
Pretty open book, that, isn't it, really?
Sorry, it has what?
It's an open book, isn't it?
Open
Tell
book.
you that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Tim's.
The 1230 one's not.
I got an Amy as well.
Right. Use all the Dianes and that as well.
Yeah, I got an old Diane, but that's beyond.
We stick things in the back, make them, feel
Yeah.
doing buggy boys.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my Diane's beyond. I use it just for spares, but
Yeah.
my Amy's in a similar condition to that.
Right, that's nice. That's had all the girl ones.
We do have a rare machine in here. You haven't seen it yet. You must have seen them about. They had one or two about London. These vans. They used to have them Citroen. I'm talking about old vans.
Yeah.
This was an old fire engine or something. Whatever.
Yeah, there's one with the two big chevrons on the front.
Yeah.
Which look
so-
like part of the grill.
Oh, H van.
Yeah.
Is that what they are? Is that?
Yeah.
Off they go.
The trouble with the old cars, though, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people, young people, I guess, don't even know how
That's
they
all
work.
right. No, that's all right.
Live in his office.
No, he's not here.
Thank you, darling.
See you later.
Yeah, the Amy's lovely. Yeah, the Amy. But if you could just do all the things, whatever needs doing to it, could you service it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want Wednesday or?
Wednesday, fine. Yeah, I'll bring it along. Yes. I'm no rush for you. You can have it a couple of days, whatever. Could you just do everything that needs doing, like?
Yeah, that will need that exhaust rubber order
Yeah.
because that's a
Um,
special rubber on them.
Can you get them, or do I have to get them?
Probably got one of them down there or not from somewhere.
Yeah, I think.
GSF or somewhere, or do you use GSF for anything? Or?
No.
No?
No,
They're sitting- they're sitting-
Well, they got one right here.
Oh, right, no.
There's
they're-
6 and what's it?
On grids, you see, yeah,
Sorry.
GSF might have them, might not.
Yeah.
But yeah, rear, yes, it's service and a.
So you want a service
Yeah.
of some description.
Yeah, whatever it needs doing.
Service as exhaust
Rear mounting rubber.
rear mounting.
Yes, that's a grease up really, and all the
Yeah,
and the old-
kingpins and everything
old
else.
knife edge pins and that on the
That's
side,
it.
that all need
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah, that's what I want doing. All that lot. Yeah.
4 points.
I'm trying to keep it in the condition that it's in.
3. So that's it. The service, exhaust rear rubber, and green 4 points.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Good.
Thank you very much.
And hello. And what is your phone number again?
Uh,
I've probably got it.
You've got it.
Yeah, I've got it
You've
here.
got it, yeah, you've got it there. 'Cause I'm bringing another
The day
one.
before.
Yeah.
The Mercedes.
Somebody's bringing it in. Yeah, and you got a car coming in tomorrow, another one, straight out of MOT. You got my Volvo in tomorrow.
Right.
Somebody's bringing it in for me. What do I owe you for that now?
45 then. What it is. Oh, definitely, there we go. You've had the old-fashioned stuff.
There you are.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Good. So
That
we'll
it?
see you tomorrow then.
Yeah, somebody will be bringing it in for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, now. Bye. And next Wednesday I'll bring the 2CV in.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, isn't it?
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Right, so this 2CV passed its test, no problems. A little advisories to do with the one of the mountings on the exhaust, and one of the kingpins, slight play in it, which he thinks is due to the fact that it hasn't been greased enough. So I booked it in, therefore, to have it fully serviced, because the guy obviously knows what he's talking about. He dealt with Citroens said he'd worked for Citroens for years. So it's going to have a service, and those few little bits and pieces put right. So then the car should be tickety-boo, A1, I hope. Right. Still got the Volvo to sort out, and that's going for its MOT tomorrow. So we'll see. Right, well, we're in the back of the Mercedes now. It gives you an idea how lovely this car is, really. Well, I think it is. Somebody said something, commented on one of my videos, and it's a very interesting comment, and it's not a unique comment, I must admit, but it's interesting. And the comment was along the lines of, well, it was in relation to the Volvo, and it was along the lines of, well, you know, with all the problems I got on it, why don't I just sell it or dump it, or why don't I just sell all the cars and just buy one decent car or something, maybe. That sort of question, really. I think that's a really relevant question to put to me, or anyone else who has a lot of cars, and that is what I just wanted to talk about. Because, you know, when you're in one of these cars, like this Aventine, this Renault Aventine, for example, so we're in the back of this. I just open this a minute. It's got a giant sunroof, or two giant sunroofs. The thing is, these cars are modern. I mean, the Mercedes basically is modern, I guess. Certainly modern by the standards of a lot of old cars. And this Aventine is modern, but it's getting to be an old car. So, first of all, what happens when a car changes from being a modern car, meaning that it's new to the market or new to the purchaser, and in terms of years, or it gets to the next stage where it's just an old car. So this Aventine, to a lot of people, it's just an old car, but it is actually a modern car because it's modern in design, really, and modern in all the technology that's in it. Though that technology has obviously advanced a little bit in recent years in terms of computers and various other things. The sat-nav that's built in here. So this is an older car, and then suddenly we get to the stage where the car becomes a classic. Anyway, the issue is, why do I keep old cars going and spending money on old cars rather than just sell them? Like, so why am I not selling the Volvo? Well, let's be practical. For example, Tom is driving the Volvo at the moment. Why is that? Well, mainly because, well, the reason is because his van has gone wrong, and it's got quite an expensive job on the clutch. So he's got to spend on the van, practically as much money as what he paid for it. But it could be argued that he should just dump the van maybe and buy another one. But then he would be still spending that same money. Let's say that we're talking about a figure of £1,000. So if he spends another 1,000 to buy another van, he buys a 100% unknown commodity or item. But if he spends 1,000 on the van he has, when he knows the bodywork is perfect, or as perfect as he could get it, he knows then that we'll have a new clutch because he's just spent the money on it. You know, that's a better bet. So you're still spending the 1,000. So by spending 1,000, you're not getting on a new van. You're in a worse situation than what you would be in spending 1,000 on the van that you've got. The same thing with my Volvo. Right, this Volvo. I mean, over the years we've spent a lot of money on this car. we spent a hell of a lot on the gearbox, which we had to rebuild. And obviously, now that this car's done, getting on to 200,000 miles, a lot of components had to be replaced or repaired or whatever. So this car is going through a sort of second or third phase of its life in terms of components. Apart from that, it's an excellent car, and it drives really well. And the engine, from what everyone could tell me, is in excellent state of health. So what would I sell this for now? If I sold it, I'd be lucky if I got £1,500 for it. And I would have to spend maybe £5,000 to get a comparable car that was not going to just break down the next day. In other words, it had lower mileage. So that would be another outlay of, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 quid. So the problem I've got with it, which we don't know, at the moment is not costing me anything because the car is running well. It's really a nuisance value. Now, a nuisance value's got a lot of value in itself because it's of no use to your car if you never know when it's going to break down. Now, Tom's driving this car at the moment every day, doing quite a few miles in it, and it's running well. So I don't know. So I think this is the problem that everyone with old vehicles has to cater with, and that is this problem of do I keep spending money on it? But the trouble is that the problems that this car has and people are getting with cars now are not the ones they used to have with things like the Citroen. This car is perfect. It's got no rust. The engine runs lovely. It's a really practical vehicle. It's modern. It's got everything going for it. Why would you want to sell it? Why would you want to buy a new one? To get an equivalent car that does what this one does, you'd have to pay 30,000 or 30 to 40,000 pounds, or 20,000 for a really good second-hand one. It's a real big problem. And then you've got a car like this. I mean, these Jags, you can buy them now for a few £1,000s, it seems. This particular one, I'd like to think is almost as good as you can get, because it's almost as good as a new one. So I think it's better than the average one that's for sale. But it's almost criminal that cars like this are so cheap. But then they're too expensive to repair if they go wrong, which is the same sort of problem we got with the Volvo. So second-hand vehicles are have no value simply because the technology is so great in them that they have their value is just lost through the inability of garages really to repair them when some sort of technology fails and it's to do with electronics, or it can't be determined what the problem is. So what is a classic car? Is it just an old car, or is it a car that's desirable? This car might be desirable. It's desirable to me. To be honest with you, I think really a classic car is going to be limited to a type of technology that can be maintained almost indefinitely, which obviously these cars are not. So a car like this 1947 Dodge, there's very little on this car that cannot be reproduced if you could not get the parts. Actually, funnily enough, a lot of the stuff in this car you can still buy. Like I just got this little switch here, which Andy still hasn't come to fit. But, you can find, there's so few parts and it's just so simple, but things could be modified or things could be rebuilt or whatever. So in a way, these cars are actually fun because you can keep them going. Right, well that was I don't know if that made any sense, to be honest with you. So why, the answer is, why haven't I sold the Volvo? Because basically, I guess, the truth of it is that it's just fun, in a way, even a challenge to keep these cars going. And that old Volvo, which is old now, I guess, because it's now, about 14 years old, is is it? Well, I just don't want to scrap it. I mean, I suppose that's really what it amounts to. I've spent so much money on it. I like the car. I'm attached to it. I don't even want another Volvo of the same model because I like the one I've got. I'm attached to it. And I think men get attached to these machines in the same way that women get attached to living animals. We tend to get attached to machinery and technology. That's how I feel about it. Now, anyway, the practicality of it all. The Mercedes is going in for a service next week. The 2CV is going in for a service next week. And the Volvo is going for its MOT today. So I think that's the next step. Lots of things happening with these cars every day.